What's up, everybody? It's Matt Johnson. We're back with another episode of Real Estate Uncensored. This is the place where you get actionable ideas, insight, and inspiration to turn your real estate career into a life of freedom. And we have an awesome guest, as we always do. Well, not always. Sometimes we have no guests, and we're just awesome by ourselves. But in this particular case, we have an awesome guest, a repeat guest, the Twiddle himself, Glenn Twiddle, the rock star real estate coach, and our Aussie friend from down under is back. And we're talking about how to McDonald-ize. Can we McDonald-ize our real estate business, what that means, and all that good stuff. So we're going to talk about that. We've got some objections and questions from you. I'm sure I'll yell at Greg, and so it's going to be a good time. So the junior grandmaster himself, you're in your co-pilot seat. You're dressed very nicely today, by the way. I'm wearing a dress shirt. You're wearing a dress shirt. Glenn is wearing like a dress shirt and a blazer. Like it's all good in the hood today.
It is all good in the hood.
You don't want to see what I'm wearing underneath, though, mate.
We don't.
No. Do not point that camera down.
This is strictly waist up broadcast only.
Yeah, waist up broadcasting, correct.
Does that mean I should start wearing pants if we start doing a full body camera?
There will be no such thing as full body podcasting with you, Greg. It does not. It shall not exist. I don't care if the technology comes out. I'm not.
Oh, we so are. Anyways, dude,
Insta 360 full body camera for podcasting. Not gonna do it. Not happening.
Not gonna do it. But hey, dude, check it out, man. I love my clients, my coaching clients. They always send me some very, very cool little cards, and they always write a very nice little note on the inside. And so with the since I'm not I like coaching, but sometimes it's a little bit more stressful than I would like it to. So I mean, yeah, if you guys don't know Glenn, dude, his clients love him so much they don't send him cards, they buy him Harley Davidsons as thank you. So we are pumped to have you back, dude. It's 4 a.m. in Australia right now. He got up at 3:30. He went to bed at 11:45. This man is running on fumes, but you would think that the guy just drank a pot of coffee. That's why we love him, because he comes on and he drops knowledge bombs. And today it was his idea to talk about, can you McDonald-ize? Can you systemize? Can you make it a process that's repeatable for the new agents to the senior agents and everybody make money? Now, if Glenn's the captain of that ship, I will sign up to be on your crew, sir, because I know where we're going, and that's Profit Town, and I want to be the mayor.
Well, can it be done? Absolutely. Will it be done out of every 100 agents? Probably not. And is there yet a corporate, certainly not in Australia, but is there a corporate brand that has McDonald-ize the system? In my experience, not yet. But can it be done? Absolutely, because me and a few of my select agents have done it in its entirety. It's just a pain in the ass to implement it and get it done. You know what I mean? It's a tough. So we'll dabble in some of the ideas and I suppose what it should look like big picture here today. But the challenge will be in the nuances and the actual executables to do it. But can it be done? Absolutely. I mean, anything can be done. We've done it. But it's just a case of it's like this, for Matt, in his experience as one of the best marketing minds in this game that I've ever seen. And Greg, whenever I'm talking about a great example of a real estate prospecting terminator, like a machine, it's yourself. When I talk about Matt, I talk about his equivalent of me over there in the States, about a marketing person who designs these sorts of systems. So if I was to say to Matt, that take any one marketing system that one might put into a lead generation funnel or whatever. Imagine the difficulty of doing that once. I say this a lot of the times. It's not one way you get 20 listings a month. It's 20 little mini marketing systems you have to install that get you one. And each one of them is a bit of a pain in the ass to do. So to install that sort of system on top of the listing, the selling, the doing of deals, the prospecting for buyers, and the doing of a full-time 60-hour-a-week job in real estate, to add a 30-hour-a-week job of being a full-time marketer on top of that means that it's going to be a rare individual who does it. But can it be done? The answer is yes. It's just a pain in the ass to do it. But then they don't hand out $1 million a year incomes without a pain in the ass. So, therein lies the dilemma.
Well, yes, and we get to choose our pain in the ass, which, by the way, that's one thing I figured out from being in this whole entrepreneurial game is, yes, it's stressful and it's exciting. It's a massive roller coaster, but in reality my life was a roller coaster before I got into the entrepreneurial game. Life was a pain in the ass. Things broke down, things happened, there was pressure, there was stress. Now I choose it. At least I know when there's stress in my life, it's because I choose the stress, and I will freaking crush it, right?
Yeah,
So
and I mean,
I'd
think
much
about the
rather be in that
alternative.
position.
I mean, I was watching a Gary Vaynerchuk video the other morning, and I tell you, whilst the guy puts it quite dramatically, I think he said the maths of being a human are like 4 trillion to 1. So we've all won the frickin' lotto. Now what are we doing as lotto winners? Whinging and stressing and freaking out about the world? Holy shit. We won the frickin', I think Gary's words were, it's literally impossible to do what we've all done, to become a human. It's literally mathematically impossible. So
Yeah, 1 in 400 trillion.
That's all right.
Yeah, well, congratulations. You're the fastest sperm, you beat all your dumb siblings. But the thing is that when it comes down to that, we don't see it as that because that's not the way that we realize it. We realize it as, oh, I'm here. Well, now what? It's like, no, bro, like you seriously made it. Like if your mom and your dad didn't go bang bang right at the right time, if they got in a car,
they could have had a beer.
Crash. They could have gotten a beer. They could have gone, got sidetracked. Someone got a headache. Air quotes, and all of a sudden you're not there. Well, then
thanks,
you're not
Mom.
a part of the world. And
I think we don't want to go there. We want to say thanks, Mum, for doing what you did. Yeah, it's nasty.
No, this is a horrible line of questioning. All right, I have a question that I will throw out to you guys.
Matt, get us back on track. Come on,
Thank
Matt,
you. That is my job. All right, so this is a good question from Elena Hairston, new member in the lead gen scripts and objections group run by a good friend of ours. So she says, how do you handle a FSBO who won't let you bring a buyer because they don't want to deal with agents? And the thing that caught my eye about this is because it's a good example of the difference between an objection and a condition. And that's actually kind of the conversation where I wanted to go with this, and the reason why I brought up the question, because I happen to be I'm working on some things behind the scenes, and I was thinking about that, the difference between an objection and a condition. So, Greg, I'd love for you to share kind of your perspective on that, because I know what your answer to the question is going to be, and it's going to be you can't work with them. I get that. But how do you recognize the difference between an objection and a condition?
Okay, so read the question to me one more time, please.
Okay, so let's bring it in. Let's bring the focus in.
I'm here, man.
How do you handle a FSBO
okay.
who won't let you bring a buyer because they don't want to deal with agents?
Well, don't work with them. I mean,
thank you.
Thank you. I got a better answer, Matt. But anyway, that's all right.
The real thing here is, you have to understand what their true pain point is. It's not the fact they don't want to work with an agent. It's the fact they don't want to pay a commission. So that's because there's no value that they're perceiving the agent to bring to the whole transaction. They've probably gotten burned, or they've had bad experiences, or heard bad stories. So what you need to do is you need to isolate what their problem is. It's not the agent. It's most likely their bottom line. So if you can prove and show to them that they can net the same or more by allowing you to bring in a buyer and working with a real estate agent, that will most likely allow you to get in and work with that client. Now, is it going to be a pain in the ass, an uphill battle in a rainy day with no shoes and a mudstorm? Yeah, probably, because they don't like you. But you can build rapport with them, and you can start melting that little piece of coal that's called their heart when it comes towards real estate agents, and get the deal done. And then it really comes down to your client. And now, if that buyer must have that house, then you can do your best to get them into that house. But at the end of the day, that buyer needs to be your first priority. And if you have to say, okay, I will forego, here it is, I will be your advisor on the back end, but I'm going to put you down for 2 referrals if I'm going to let you work with this FSBO without me representing you. So you can almost make double your money while still satisfying a client that will be then a referral client for life. So my thoughts. Glenn, yours, sir? I have my pen ready.
I was going to say I had a better thing, but it's exactly that. No, I was going to say I had a better one, but that's exactly that. You're going to work for them no matter what. You're going to help them. It's just whether or not you're good enough to get paid or not. So for my Instagram crew who are watching in, the thing is, what do you do when an agent, a FSBO for sale by owner, which isn't as predominant, by the way, over here as it is over there. Most of our buyers, well, admittedly, we don't really represent any of our buyers. All of our agents over here are listing centric, and the buyers represent themselves. We serve the buyers, but they are negotiating on their own behalf. So we treat them fairly, professionally, and honestly, but we aren't their representative. So our sellers pay the commission over here. So all of them are just a seller relationship, and buyers go direct. So, and that's what I want to start seeing if we can get to happen more often with you guys. I believe you guys call them double ending, but but you're not charging. Maybe you are charging both a commission. I understand there's some dubiousness around the legalities of treading that fine wire to
California
represent
especially.
both. Yeah.
Mhm.
But that being said, what Greg said, I loved. So what I would say is, and this is the example I wanted to start with is, let me just see if I can just, how do I share? Click here to start sharing this screen. Okay, so you can see my screen here, right? Just like this person was saying, I don't want to work with agents, so too would this person on the first time I met her. This is Naomi, my partner in life. The first time this person I met her, she would have been saying, I don't want to spend my life with a dude who looks like you, right? I don't want to be with a guy who's 30 kilograms overweight, who is with a head like yours. I don't want to spend my life just like that person doesn't want to work with agents. Believe me, she was thinking, I don't want to be with a dude like you. And, you know, again, big ass name drop here, but, you know, that's us with a certain mate of ours. But the one I wanted to show you was this one. Right? That's us. That's me dodging a bullet. Look at that look of lust in Rocky's eyes right there, right? That's me dodging a bullet. But, so my point there is, she's now in my bed in there, putting up with me yelling at 4 a.m, waking up the household, you know, being me, sharing our life in business together and sharing our life, you know, romantically together, right? Mm-hmm. That did not happen on the first point of contact. So take it back to your question. It was a man, was it? It was a lady, I believe. But anyway,
yes,
someone who says the objection, I don't want to deal with agents. Well, the equivalent of you wanting to deal with that client is the equivalent of me trying to get a one-night stand with Naomi. Not going to happen. I need to meet her under one set of circumstances and apply the age-old marketing principle of wear them down, right? Someone who looks like me, even if I've lost a few kilos, a few pounds over in your neck of the woods, means I ain't going to win a 10 physically, you know, because that's the thing with females. She has options of every male of our age that she would choose to have. Because she's mid-40s, she's got a physique like someone in her mid-20s, she's smarter than frickin' most small countries, she's, you know, she's intelligent, she's fired up, she's, you know, she's everything that any human would want in a woman of our vintage, right? And so she's got options. So for someone like me to think that I'm going to win her over at the first point of contact is freaking ludicrous. Similarly, for any agent to think they're going to wear over someone who has got that sort of upfront, oh, I don't want to work with agents, you're not going to do it. So I love Greg's thing, is get an in some way, shape or form, help without a thought of recourse of remuneration. If you end up getting remunerated because you do such a freaking good job, great. But, you know, do whatever you can to remove the risk, meaning sign them up with paperwork and have a clause that all they have to do is tick a box and submit it to your brokerage and they don't pay you a dime if they believe for any second that your fee needs reduction or removal. Remove the risk, you know what I mean? And so will you have to do some for free? Absolutely. Is that okay? Well, I've got a book back there called Jab, 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 Right Hook that says it is. Just give till it hurts. And as Greg accurately identified right now, and for the one time in our entire Real Estate Uncensored history, I have to be gone right on time this morning because I'm about to get on that Harley Davidson and drive to a client's office on the Harley they bought me to do a coaching program this morning. So that attitude of just giving until without thought of remuneration ends up, I have a Harley out there that is proof that, and that wasn't charity that they bought me. That was just they felt they owed me. So they bought a $30,000 motorcycle for me just because they thought it was the right thing to do. And it's because of an attitude like that that I worry about the money last. You know, that event that I brought you guys out to, you know, you saw there was 500 odd people in that room. We served the living crap. I still thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for coming out to Australia to be there. Man, that event, barely, it didn't even quite break even. But that's all right, because that 500 people out there are now raving fans of Greg McDaniel, Matt Johnson, Brian Casella, who come out, me as the host. You know what I mean? That pays dividends later. You know,
it really does.
Serve now, profit later, you know?
But that mindset,
I like that.
Yeah, my dad actually has the exact same mindset and mentality, you know, give first, receive later. And it's because the traditional mindset is not that way. It's first get, then I give, And that's the old sales mentality, and it's understandable why most people think that way. But if you turn it on its head, then that's when you don't make an income, you make wealth off of that, because it's dividend after dividend after dividend after dividend. Like, I have people that I did a McDaniel challenge for 2.5 years, 4 nights a week. Some of those calls would go for 3-4 hours at a time. Some of them for an hour. Some of them, the shortest one I had was 10 minutes. I was totally butthurt. And I'm like, I have 50 minutes to kill. What do I do now? But I gave. Everybody was telling me to charge for this. And I said, hands down, absolutely, unequivocally no. Because now those people are now signing up for our EXP. Yeah, look at the podcast.
Look at what you guys do here. I mean, literally every day. You guys give away the quality of training that should be charged for.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Why do you guys do it? It's the same thing. You'll get money later. For
well,
everyone there, if you haven't read that one, you just get that book,
Yeah.
right? Just get that book.
Yeah, good
Jab,
book.
Jab, Jab, Right Hook by Gary Vaynerchuk. There's my autograph copy there. He signed a bunch of books, so it was very nice of him.
I won't.
There's one around here with how much he loves me. That one's just got the autograph, but get that book. I mean, shit, that sums it up. And the metaphor is pretty simple. A jab, boxing metaphor. A jab is a gift, just give. And a right hook is you've earned the right to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you've earned the right to ask. It's all good. And by the way, we were talking about her before. She heard me talking about her. She's that Facebook, Instagram live that I said is up there in my corner.
Yeah.
Naomi was listening in to all that raving on that I did before.
Bonus.
Oh, damn it.
Bonus.
I'm talking about it.
that does not suck for you, my friend. But I mean, but the thing is, I mean, you sometimes you talk negatively about you, and how Naomi is here, you're here, right? When in reality, I think you guys are equal partners. 100% equal partners. You guys both bring our powerhouses in your own rights, and put the two of you together in a room. Naomi, the first time I met her, she squarely yelled at me to get on the stage. Greg, get stage now! I'm like, oh shit. Okay,
I
sorry.
wish she was hearing this. She's on Instagram. She can't hear you guys. Babe, get onto Facebook Live. It's funny.
But I mean, what I'm saying is that when you're with a good team member or partner or along those lines, either in life or in business, you're going to bring the opposites attract. You will bring different energies to what you're going to be doing. And so with the way you guys can start McDonald-izing, or you can start bringing into systems into your business, like look at Matt and I, our partnership here on the podcast. We are very much aligned, but we're very much diametrically different as well. Just the way we think and operate and do things, but yet we offset each other very, very nicely. And that's what you need to look for starting to systematize and starting to, air quotes, McDonald-ize, follow the little blue feet in the training manuals, which McDonald's does have. They have little blue feet that you just, A to B, B to C, C to D, and you'll make the fries the same as Tokyo as in Detroit. You can do that in real estate. You really can.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, Glenn, I would love to hear your thoughts and how you would see, or kind of your theoretical idea of how to McDonald-ize real estate, because I'm fascinated to see what's up in that head.
Chatting. Let me go to this. Click here to start sharing this screen. Let me throw this out there. I'll give you an overview, and then we'll talk about it. So without worrying too much about the specifics of what goes into this blueprint, let me take you through just real quick. So if you had all of your prospecting, unbranded, and direct response tactics mapped out on some sort of a document. And I think that's one of the things we're missing is just document, So we have every way that we know mapped out as a document. And underneath each of these little things, there might be the actual letters that you do. And we end up with a manual. Out of these calls, we have the actual scripts with audio examples of what a zero resistance phone call might look like, what a door knocking script might be, what an unbranded lead gen site is, then branded stuff, what a book is, what the buyer follow-ups, what to happen with a checklist and a flow chart on each and every one of these branded, unbranded social media systems. What's a dark post, a public? What do you do on Instagram? Lead generation sites, video self lives, Facebook lives, listings, invites to open homes, your headers, your graphics, informative posts, fun stuff, testimonials, etc. And if you just put all of those funnels, whether they're branded, whether they're unbranded, or direct response, whether they're social, and they all then lead to a script of what to say to get in front of a human and drop off a property price report. And then now, none of these individual steps are what I'm wanting to discuss here. What I'm wanting to discuss is, has anyone got a flow chart like this? Where what happens if it's just if we go down here, a checkup on price appraisal, versus an opportunity to list a home. So if it's a checkup on price appraisal where there is no opportunity to list, what is then the follow-up sequence? What gift, what call, what email? 4 weeks later, what letter? 5 weeks later, what SMS? 7 weeks later, what email? 12 weeks later, what email, book, blah, 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 blah. For 18 months plus, for 3 years, whatever it is, what happens then? So that when they're ready, they call you and only you in. Then what happens at a pre-listing kit, meaning what gets delivered before you go to deliver this stuff to then do your listing presentation the day after? What happens if they list with another agent and then there's another sequence in your CRM? What happens if they list with you? We send the welcome to the family pack. What happens once you get the listing? We've got a system to get it sold, get the money, get a video testimony. This whole kind of matrix where each and every one of those little steps has an explanation, has a flow chart, from call in. What happens at the call in? Is it an appraisal or a listing presentation? Was the script delivered perfectly? Was it the full presentation that you did? Did they list? If yes, if no, if whatever. I've never seen, the unfortunate thing is, let me just stop sharing here so we can discuss now. I've never seen an agent.
Did I mention that?
What?
I love you, Glenn. I love how your brain works, and I love that chart. If anybody's listening on iTunes, do yourself a favor and go find the version of this that's video on YouTube or on our website, or just go to reuncensored.com and find Glenn's episode, because holy good God, that flow chart in itself, you essentially just mapped out an extreme, and I don't mean like a moderately successful. You just mapped out exactly what an extremely successful real estate business looks like. If somebody just took the last 60 seconds of that, and just, even if they know that exists, you may not know all the steps of like how to execute each of those things. But I'm just saying, just looking at that flow chart and how you walked through that is enough. If I would have had that in 2006, 2007, I'd be hosting the podcast, but I'd still be probably an active agent, because it would have changed my life.
Agreed, man. And Matt, when you say that, that flow chart was pain for me, because it's not in a natural salesperson's disposition to put that together.
No,
I was forced as a coach to do it. Yeah, yep. I was forced as a coach to do it. So
I've talked a lot with one of my mentors about it, who's a classically trained cold call salesman. And when you really get down to it, really good marketing makes salespeople unnecessary, which for the marketer, we look at that as a good thing. For the salespeople, they're looking at it going, why would I want to make myself unnecessary? All I want to do is just put me in front of the person and let me figure out how to sell them. And I'm going to do it all through magic words. Like, it's just a different mentality. And so it's very difficult to think of that, which is why most salespeople don't build successful businesses.
Well, the way I look at sales, and Greg, I'm interested because Greg's one of the best guys that I've ever seen at grinding out through natural, probably the grandmaster influence that he's got a lifetime of this world dumped upon him. But to me, those magic words are a system, whether delivered verbally at a listing presentation through a lifetime of experience, or whether that is a finely crafted pre-listing launch letter that's copywritten to the T that it instills those magic words in print in some way. To me, it's all one and the same thing, that I think that if you can marry up the marketer who wants to render the salesperson redundant and the salesperson who wants an easier job of it, I think you end up with nirvana. But because those skill sets are diametrically opposed, we don't end up with a lot of that because it requires – it hurt me to put that flowchart together. I promise you, it hurt. and to get the intricacies of each of those little steps flowcharted, where each one of those little steps individually required pain, that's why I needed Naomi in there to keep me on track, to systematize each and every one of those little intricate things, because – for me, it's just I need to get out there in front of the people. Let me be a wannabe rock star, which I was with Matt Johnson there in San Diego a couple of weeks ago. I was very bad, by the way, and Matt was very, very good, by the way. But that's the performer in me did not want to make that flow chart. It wanted to perform. So, yes. But Greg, what's your thoughts on that? Did that hurt your brain as much as it did to watch, as much as it did me to make?
No, not at all. I loved it. I have a farming chart that I just call it farming. It's a living document, and I I started just writing it, and I'd add to it all the time, and then I started connecting all these different dots and what can go where, and then I started breaking it down, what is warm, what hot, warm, and cold prospecting, kind of, where everything can fall in. See, for me, it's the flowchart didn't hurt. I enjoyed it because, like Matt said, it's literally A to B, B to C, C to D, so on and so forth. There's no more problems. The hard part that I find sometimes is execution and staying consistent on the plan that's already been put there. Because you're like the general in an army. You put out the battle plan, and then your sergeants and lieutenants and your grunts don't do what you said to do. Therefore, your plan sucks, right? That's where a lot of people fall down. I mean, and I try to do it the best I can every day, doing the follow-up, doing this, doing that. But for my nature, it makes me want to go to sleep. Physically go to sleep at my desk. Like I'm doing follow-ups, I'm like mentally. I gotta get a set up and walk around. I honestly wish I could have more coffee in my house. Cause I just like take shots of it. I had like 10 shots of coffee lined up here just to do follow-ups. But I love the flow. I love the format. I'm with Matt. Go back, whoever's listening to this, on iTunes or Stitcher or wherever else, go find this video and look at that flow chart. It is fantastic.
And remembering the magic isn't in the specifics of that flowchart, whilst it's a good one, the magic is in mapping out one for yourself. What happens if? It's a series. I mean, the computer programmers out there will be sitting there going, Jesus Christ, bit simple, isn't it, Twiddle? Christ almighty. It's a series of if-then statements with what to do if X happens, with some very simple if this, if that. But for a real estate business that has never done, like when I was brought in, I was given a cold calling script that did okay. It worked. When executed 400 times a week, so that 200 people you spoke to, literally you'd get in front of 3 people who wanted to do business and happy days, right? And list 2 properties a week. That was what I was taught. And I was told, go for it. Off you go. And I was taught a listing presentation of what to say if they said yes to my insane amount of cold calls. There was my induction into the business. That's real estate down here at least, and from what I know of you guys over there, because I just got back there for my second trip in like a month, just a couple of days ago, and where I did catch up with Matt Johnson in San Diego. We did go to some seedy hole-in-the-wall bar on a Tuesday night, and I watched Matt the musician do some things, and he watched Glenn the hack do some worse things on an out-of-tune guitar.
That's not the story he told me. That's not the story he told me. He's like, dude,
you're brilliantly self-deprecating.
Yes, he is.
You're really good at it. Like you're brilliant at how good you are at self-deprecating.
Matt told me that you shredded even though you had a out of tune guitar, and he's like, dude,
yes, you got up there and played some dude's neglected, out of tune, crappy Fender Strat that was probably made at the 3rd string factory in Mexico. It didn't have a strap. Yeah, somebody had to rustle up a strap out of the back of some dude's van.
Got some, that's it. I think they got like a headphone leads and wrapped that around me. And
exactly. So you got up and played. With the fact that the wonder is that you managed to get up and play it all and have it be coherent, which it very clearly was. So anyway, but I mean, here's the deal. Like the McDonald-ization. Yeah, go ahead, Glenn.
No, I was just going to say that what we just discussed is very unfamiliar. I mean, one of the first books I read in real estate, wherever.
Yeah, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent.
Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller, and he talks about that in theory, and he gives you some hints, and that's the nirvana he describes. I'm yet to see a high percentage of agents get there. Look at that, Greg McDaniel with the same Bible.
Oh, dude, this is the non-marked up version. I'm looking for my marked up version.
Yeah,
it has
look
so
at
many
that.
tabs.
Oh,
there it is. There
Mine's
it is.
Yeah, he's got the marked up version. You know that a book's a winner when you got multiple copies of it.
This is the marked up version.
Yeah, look at that messed up thing. I love it.
Oh, dude.
So when you read that, but here's the thing, guys, is what I would say is that book's one of the biggest selling books in real estate. The fact that most of us has got it arm's length away, and yet I would say that 0.1% of agents have reached anywhere near the nirvana described towards the latter stages of that book because of its complexity and its pain in the ass factor to execute. And I suppose therein lies the difference between what McDonald's have been able to do. They can get a 15-year-old whose parents cannot be made to have that 15-year-old clean their room. They have those 15-year-olds running a multi-billion-dollar business because they have their system as foolproof. And similarly, I believe therein lies the challenge. For every 1,000,000 burger shops in the world, there is one McDonald's. No one has really done this in real estate. Of course, yes, there are individuals that I've coached to execute that flow chart. Yes, but en masse, no brand has done it. No buying group has done it. No conglomerate has done it. It's just been little individuals in amongst us that have either implemented my system down in Australia, implemented Gary Keller's system here in, even KW. Even KW don't have a flawless one of these done. It's crazy that the guy who wrote the book on it still didn't map out the McDonald-ize version of that nirvana. Is it possible? Yes. Is it likely? No.
So I think that it very much is possible. I think the reason why it hasn't been mapped out 100% is because every person has their individual personality. Look, a hamburger is a freaking hamburger. It's going to be cooked in the same damn way with the same heat in the same amount of time if you use the same ingredients. The real estate agents, our ingredients are constantly shifting, moving, and changing. Our personalities are as well, because you can be a DI, you can be an SC, you can be a DC, you can be whatever you want.
Real estate agents' personalities are constantly shifting.
Oh yeah, they're especially all the people inside their head talking to them all at the same time. But I mean, I think
Greg,
one of the things that...
Let me throw this into your thinking. Let me throw this out.
Okay.
Surely each McDonald's manager, right, the guy who's running the individual store, surely they've got the same shit. Surely there's some McDonald's managers out there that say, Mr. McDonald's, I reckon we could do a better burger than that, right? Because they've got different desires or whatever. Now, what would happen to that person in the McDonald's system?
They're out.
They're out.
This is your sandbox. Yeah. Don't fucking step out of the sandbox. Yeah. If you want to step out of the sandbox, go somewhere else. Go
open Bob's Burgers.
Bob's Burgers. Fucking Bob, dude. Bob's now making burgers. That son of a bitch. I knew he was two-timing us. And first Remax. Now Bob's Burgers. Matt.
Oh my God.
I don't know where he's going to go next.
I did interrupt, Greg. My apologies, man.
Yes, but I agree with you, Glenn. I probably fall on the side of you, Glenn, in this way, in the sense that Greg is right that each individual transaction is different in some way. Each individual buyer, seller, client is different in some way. Each agent is different in some way. However, that doesn't mean you can't systematize everything to the point where you make it so that doesn't matter. Not that it doesn't exist. It's not that it's not true. It absolutely is true. A hamburger is different from a real estate transaction, but what's interesting is that the level of complexity is also insanely 100% predictable. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like every 17th burger that rolls off the line at McDonald's is a triple pounder and fucks up the rest of the system, right? Like that. So there's a little bit of that. Like, look, we know that the meat patty that goes into our cheeseburger of real estate is going to be different every time. So guess what? You build the system to account for that, and you keep on moving. So there's
I mean, the McDonald's system doesn't get broken when the maniac comes in who is a dickhead and orders a Whopper. You know what I mean? That doesn't break the system. The customers are still insane, just like our customers and our clients are still insane. That the system needs to tolerate the insanity, meaning, all those intricacies described by the salesperson as the reason why it can't be systematized is the reason it needs to be systematized. We need to have all of those things that are randomly given by salespeople to their genius. Oh, you need to be able to adapt to the words. You've got to be able to think on your feet and adapt and flow and stuff. Yes, those levels of genius should be trained, systemized, role-played, and installed into the person before they get near the consumer. Here in Australia, it is a 3-day course to get your real estate license with an open book exam that you cannot fail, right?
Oh my God, are you serious?
It's
an open book exam that you cannot fail.
That you cannot fail. They just keep letting you resubmit it until you pass. And it's multiple choice. It's multiple choice for the most part. So you go answer A, wrong, resubmit. Answer B, wrong, resubmit. Answer C, wrong, resubmit. Now, I used to mark these papers because that was my foray into the real estate world. I was an instructor in that, so I used to mark the exams. So A, wrong, resubmit. B, wrong, resubmit. C, wrong, resubmit. All that's left is D. I've seen agents not pick D but go back to A, that they've already been marked on 3 exams wrong ago.
You
can't. If you want to be a real estate agent here, you will be.
Hey, I'm coming down.
Not be. So what that means is, with that level of instruction, no wonder we don't have this level of complexity, because literally in a 3-day course with an exam that no one fails, no one knows shit when they get into this industry. They just got to learn it on the fly. So there's no employers that put this level of induction. It's a 2-week course full time with a closed book exam and a practical exam to get to be a cab driver, back when there was such a thing. It was 5 times more difficult to get to be a cab driver than a real estate agent here in this country. You know what I mean?
That's
so
Sanity.
it's we wonder why we have a struggle. We made the struggle.
Yes.
By
yes,
when I say we, the industry made its own bed, and it's up to us as individuals to give ourselves the university degree that we required in the first place.
Yeah.
One of the things that I'm thinking about as we talk more about systemizing this whole thing is that, have people take a DISC test and then, teach them in their personality-wise on how they can be successful in their DISC, personality-wise. That way, there's really no screwing that up unless they lie on the DISC test, and that's on them. But I mean, there'll be some truth in there, so there'll be some level of success, and they can systemize it to some level. I know for me, if I had my way of systemizing it, put me in front of a camera or out in front of people every single day, I will throw everything that I catch back into a hopper. Someone will nurture them, love on them, and then alert me when they want to go do something. I will step back into the front of the light, and then I will take over from that point. That is the way I would operate. Now, my team manager, Eileen, hell no. You put her in front of a camera, she will first shoot me, then she'll shoot you. Then, but that's not her forte. But she does the back end. She loves sheets and spreadsheets. She loves follow-ups. That's her shtick. So I think, yes, I do believe it can be systematized. But do the agents want to be systematized, or do they want to be free like artists?
No, they don't.
Yeah, exactly. They want to be artists and create their own thing. It's
Yep.
But you're creating shit. I mean, Aunt Sue from 73. It gives you advice on how to get clients is probably not the most efficient way to do it now. I mean, Nick Sakis, who I'm working with, if he's still here, knuckles to you, homie, we're working on some really cool content delivery on a very simple platform. The platform is extremely complex, but it's very simple to use. And as agents understand it more, my eyes, I think I'm pretty good in tech. My head just went boom when I first understood how big this thing could be. And I'm just shooting videos in front of local shops. And then he's doing his thing on the back, and he's bringing in leads. So, I mean, can you account for the future tech in your systems? That's why there hasn't been a version 2 of this book, of The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, because tech and everything else have been moving by so fast. Matt, and you and I talked about it on another show, that if Gary had come out with his other version when it was heavy VA and ISA, then he would have had to go and rewrite it. No offense, Veronica.
Yeah.
But the technology is shifting. Now we have bots. Now we have other stuff. We're gonna have AI coming down the pipe, and we have all kinds of stuff that's going to interact with our clients way more frequently than we will on the follow-up and nurture. And then we just step in, and the clients will think they've been talking to us the whole time, and we'll have the notes. We'll be able to compare and see what's going on.
And when we extrapolate that, because I've looked into some of it's scary where this can go. Because did you guys see the Google Assistant book the appointment with the hairdresser?
Yes, I did. That was crazy.
Every person who's a PA should be shaking in their boots because their job's over within 5-10 years. So, but here's the extrapolation of that. What about when what that robot is talking to on the other end is the other person's robot?
Yeah.
Right.
Holy shit. Holy shit. So I tell you, we best get good as performers, because that's one of the jobs that can't be replicated is us doing what we do. But what I would say, Greg, what you nailed it before, man, is that DISC test. If you could do that, the system doesn't require the agent to do everything. You need to have the system and hand every piece of that system that you don't want to do to someone else who has that natural predisposition, desire, and wants to do that bit. And so be it, because there are very few jobs in the real estate world, in that whole flow chart, that A, everyone can do or even should want to do because it's just too much, but B, no agent can do all of them, and no task on there can't be outsourced for, I would say, the most you would have to pay anyone to do in that whole flow chart might be listing presentations or the get it sold system, right? So let's exclude those two. the getting it sold, so the running of buyers and the driving of contracts and all of that, and the listing presentations, right? If you take those two bits out of that flow chart and you just look at everything else, I can't see anything in there that costs more than $30 an hour. And yet,
I
a
get them
good
for
real
half
estate
that.
agent, yeah.
I could get the listing presentations done for $30 an hour and done competently enough to get it done, and everything else would be $10 to $15 an hour.
And now, given that that's the case with Matt, here's our big picture thinking, and this is big philosophy for you guys to fry your brains at 4 in the morning here in Australia, at whatever time, lunchtime over there, is that if that's the case, and a good listing and selling real estate agent earning $1 million a year in gross commission with a couple $100,000 in expenses is worth $500 to $1,000 an hour, what the hell is our excuse for not making a successful, profitable business when we can take a raw material manual labor thing of between $10 and $30 an hour to do every task basically in this whole business, and we're being remunerated at $500? There is, what is our mate Gary V, I think he calls it, and I don't even know if this is the right word, but arbitrage. The difference between paying something for something and charging it out at a different amount. Holy crap. When there's a differential like that in there, how has someone not figured out that arbitrage?
Well, the problem is here is that you can sum it up in one word. The word is business. A lot of the times, and I'm not talking shit to anybody who's listening to this, if this is not how you view it, a lot of people don't treat it as a business. They treat it as a hobby. They treat it as a part-time job. They treat it as a, well, if it happens kind of a thing, not like a, if it was meant to be. It was meant to be. Here it is. I mean, that's the biggest problem. Now, if we can get, that's a big thing. Maybe we just give everybody a lobotomy, and we say this is now a real estate business. Like if you went to McDonald's, that's a business. It's systems. And Matt, I did not break up in hives. I said systems. I'm good.
You're awesome with systems, or somebody else has to run them.
Exactly. That's the greatest part about it, and that's where you come in.
And look, I mean, guys, look at this. We started off this conversation, and we got sort of 15 minutes to put a bow on this and do some nice things to give our guys maybe some take-home steps. But we started off this conversation with the system of what happens when you run into a person who says, I don't want to work with an agent. And we talked metaphorically about me picking up, the amazing woman who's become part of my life. And we also talked about different personality types and finding the right people to be part of your journey to complete your business. You know what I mean? Well, it is now 4:47 a.m. We both got to sleep at 10, 11 p.m.-ish last night. And that there is a Kurt Angle T-shirt.
You didn't just show us.
Oh, we're on the wrong. I'm on the wrong cam here. I'm on the wrong cam. Damn, I picked up my Logitech. There we go.
That was awesome.
Let's see if this works.
Why does not do anything?
There you go. So that there is a Kurt Angle T-shirt with a beautiful frickin', look at that. I'll make you tap out. She's wearing my Kurt Angle T-shirt. I'll make you tap out. Over on a computer working at 10 to 5 a.m. And you can bet your ass she's not surfing the frickin' internet looking for clothes on the Wish app. She's on there working on our business, allowing me to be a wannabe rock star doing this with you guys on a podcast, on Instagram and all that. And she's over there doing bullshit work that I don't want to do while I'm here doing work that really, she probably wants to do this shit. You know what I mean? But we've got our lane and we've systemized our business, even though my predisposition isn't to do so. You know what I mean? So, and now is mine as intricate a system as that flow chart I mapped out for real estate agents? Probably not. But at least we've got the semblance and starting of people in the right lanes. We're like the mechanic that has a car that's not exactly, how mechanics sometimes aren't driving a beautiful car, and that's us. We got a good system, but the one I install for my clients is better than the one that I have, in my business, but I'm doing good because I've got the right people in the right lanes.
Right. 100%. And that's one of the things that as you guys go through this and take something away, Glenn, just so that you know, there's been multiple requests and conversations about the flow chart. People are asking where they can take a look at it.
I'll map it up. I'll get you a link for a little PDF of the flow chart of the stuff. But I would want to say to everyone who's asking for it, guys, please, the magic isn't in the specifics of the flow chart. The magic is in the principle of it and working to make your own. You know what I mean? Whether that's under the guidance of a coach or whether that's kind of just mapping it out and figuring it out along the way, even if it took you 3-4 years to get it. Well, how long is it going to take you to earn $1 million a year? Hell, what, 5 years? Well, shit, spend the 5 years, goddammit.
Well, Tony Robbins did it in 1 year. He went from $38,000, found out his wife then was pregnant, went in 12 months, went to $1 million. But then he held at $1 million for the next 7 years and did no growth from that point because it was based upon his needs, not where he wanted to grow his business. So, you guys can grow at an exponential rate. You can grow in 5 years. You can grow in 12 months. But you have to grow based upon what you're going to allow yourself to have and what you need in your life. Glenn is, we need him, so we keep bringing him back. You guys need to hire him if you guys have a couple of extra bucks and you want to coach. Look, we don't bring people on that are dumb. We bring people on that are legends. Like this gentleman right here in front of us. Oh, shush your face.
I think I was borderline, brother.
No. Again, self-defamation, and we do not adhere to that thought pattern at all. But no, seriously, Glenn, we don't make any money on this, guys. Glenn pays us no money whatsoever. So, but if someone's going to hire you, where would they go?
PM me on Facebook. Actually, it is interesting. I met a few people at the event that I was speaking at in San Diego with Erin Brockovich. That was pretty cool. She's a powerhouse of a woman, that woman.
Oh,
Holy
yeah.
crap. Wow. I was expecting a good speech. She was phenomenal. So
wow.
She was great. But yeah, I'm going to work with a few Americans, and Greg, please be one of them. I'm going to start working with a few Americans. If you can find the time, Greg, I'm going to start a little online group for Yankees. Well, no, we call us Aussies. Just as you call us Aussies, we call all American Yanks, right? Even though I know that you guys just have a differential where Yanks are from the north or the south or something.
North.
It's like the Aussie equivalent of a gringo. We get it. No, why not?
Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to work with some Americans, though, where literally at cost, and Greg, that cost is waived for you, right? I cannot take a dime from you given how much you've given me. But for anyone else, if you can just cover the costs of my implementing this stuff for you, if you want to PM me, just find me on Facebook and PM me. You can join a little clique that I've got where what I do for Australians for 30 grand plus, I'm going to do for you guys for like nothing. Like it'll work out at a couple of $100 a month just to cover the costs of me doing your graphic design, implementing those steps. So I'm going to do that. I've got 4. I'd like about 8. So if there was 4 of you, if Greg takes a spot, that'll be 3 that want to join that little clique. All I ask is that you frickin' do it. Greg said before, Gary Vee talks about execution needs to be the game. All I need you to do is do what I say without sitting there going, oh, Glenn, that won't work in my area because that won't work in my country. Well, I have people in Australia say, oh, Glenn, that won't work in my area. You'll go, oh, that won't work in my country. That'll work for you Aussies. Well, I have Aussies saying, oh, that won't work in my state. That only works for you Queenslanders. Right? And no, that won't work for you guys on the south side of Queensland. That only works for you northerners, Am I that lucky that I just happen to pick the few square kilometers in each city where this will work? No, I'm not that freaking good. It'll work if you do it, right? And I don't want to hear this, that Australian stuff won't work here. I don't want any of that shit. If you're going to be implementing, then I'll help you out, all right? So
was that a southern accent? Was that a southern accent?
That was a southern accent.
Oh, that sounded like a southern prospector, did it? Okay. I'm not good at. I'll try my ET. I've got a friend, Eric Thomas, right? He's African American. He's like, I'm known as the white Australian ET because we don't see race much here. We just see a human. You know what I mean? Right. So when I mess around with ET, I go, y'all got to know. No, I'm going deep now, guys. I'm going deep.
you almost had it, and then you lost it. A little bit of your
Eric is rolling over in his grave now.
But you did get close. I will give you that. You got close.
I will say this. Susan had a great comment early in the show that I didn't get to bring to you, Glenn, and something to think about. She asked if you had a checklist for how to put on superstar events.
Oh, good question, Susan.
Right.
When I heard checklist, Matt, you're about to get a marketing boner again, brother. Have a look at this. I've checklisted out all of the things just literally in the last few days. I've checklisted it with various marketing collateral, designed, trained, implemented with results. So I'm literally taking my one-on-one guys and checklisting the living shit out of it. Yeah. My answer to Susan, unfortunately, is up until literally 6 months ago, that flowchart didn't exist. I had to kind of dump the flowchart down. Then I checklisted the individual components of the flowchart a couple of months ago. So up until recently, this flowchart and checklist and all that didn't even exist for real estate agents. It was all in my head. But I needed to get it out of my head and into a paperwork-based online, and I like paper and ink, right? So for me, it's paper and ink. For my guys, some of them like it online, so we got a little online version of it done or whatever. So we've got it for agents. But the problem is for Susan, the unfortunate thing for Susan is it's all up here still for running killer events. So I managed to transfer this head for events to Naomi. Right. She now is as good at events, many would argue better than I am, because I managed to download my brain, and she brought her individual skill sets and, personality predispositions to that skill set. And now she runs the events better than I ever did. But it's possible. The information is transferable, but at the moment it's in a head. It's not on paper. So Susan's short-term answer will be, if she wants to do an event, reach out, maybe to you or someone else who can help run events with some experience. If she wants to reach out and do something. Look, Susan, if you've got big enough dreams that you want to do a big enough event and it's a real estate audience, shit, I'll help you out. Just put me on the bill to speak, and I'll kind of guide you through the thing. But maybe one day I'll have a training on that. But at the moment, it's just, unfortunately, for anyone who wants to duplicate what I'm doing, they've got to look at what I'm doing and figure it out, like I kind of did. Like that bookshelf at 8,000 hours is what got me to have a good system for running killer events. I could fast track it, but it won't take 8,000 hours. But it ain't going to be a checklist and a blueprint yet. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Maybe one day, but I don't have it yet. So
yeah, gotcha. I was just curious.
Wish I could fake it for her, but it's a tough one.
No. I was curious because that's a great option for where you might take the coaching business, just as a anyway.
There's a market out there for people who want to run events, absolutely. Yes. But it's not a big enough market yet. But there's the beauty. I tell you, that's a big point. I love Susan for this. The point there is, once you become good as a marketer, as an influencer, as a persuader, at implement, like you take that flowchart, tell me you couldn't apply that to so many businesses. That once you get that right, the marketing of the product becomes superfluous. The product becomes superfluous to the ability to take an item, know the consumer out there, and serve them in whatever capacity that happens to be. That's why if real estate becomes redundant, I don't care. I can teach any group with a pain how to fix their pain, so long as it requires things within my skill set. There's so many things within the skill set of a marketer that that's what 8,500 hours odd of me listening to smarter people than me. That was a well invested 8,500 hours in training, in home study courses, in seminars, in podcasts like this nowadays.
100%. Agreed. All right.
So I need to, guys, wrap a bow on it because I'm going to be gone in 3.
I know you're hard out. Yep. So we know how you're gonna get something so that we can give people the PDF. From your past experiences of any marketer worth his salt, if you can't find them by name alone, they are not worth their salt. Hopefully that doesn't apply to Matt Johnson, who has 70,000 other of me. But anyway, I'm gonna have to eclipse them. So I'm working on it. Yeah, I'm getting there. But anyway, search out Glenn Twiddle. Get in contact with him, Glenn. You've got your own podcast. I mean, you've got so much material out there, and they can go back and listen to your previous episodes that we've given, that we've had you on and stuff like that. But Greg, before we finish up, what is the best way and reason for them to connect with you?
Guys, come over to bookmcdaniel.com. Again, bookmcdaniel.com. Book 30 minutes with me. Let's talk about EXP. Let's talk about how you can be a part of what Matt and I are building. You can be a part of our air quotes team, which means you'll fly your freak flag out in front. But, you'll be a part of our back end and all the value add that we'll be able to bring to you guys. So go to bookmcdaniel.com and we'll get it done. Matt, to you.
All right. Well, let's put a nice, of course, Glenn's on the show. We can't not put a nice pink bow upon this episode because that is the signature color of the Twiddle. So we're going to put a pink bow on this episode, guys. Thank you so much. Make sure to subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff.
Absolutely, guys. We do this because we love you. We bring people like Glenn because we know that he's going to bring value to you guys. If you guys can, please reach out to him. You will be very eternally thankful for that. So until next time, guys, we love you. Peace out, ninjas. We gone.